Hey boys and girls, we're going to start off by reviewing some vocabulary about fractions. So, first of all, what is a fraction? A fraction is an equal part of a whole. So remember, in order for a fraction to be a fraction, the parts have to be the same shape and the same size. What about numerator? The numerator is the top number of a fraction. It tells how many of the total parts that you are counting. And the bottom number, remember what that's called? Denominator. The denominator is the bottom number, and it's the total number of equal parts. So all of the parts, that's the denominator. Unit fraction. A unit fraction is any fraction with 1 as the numerator. And when we label our fractions, which we always do, we're labeling each unit fraction. Okay, have your paper out and your pencil ready, and let's review some fractions. Let's start with a fraction of a group problem. You have a math test with 20 questions. You get 17 correct. What fraction did you get correct? So on your paper, I want you to write down the fraction of questions that you got correct. Remember, we did fractions on our Read to Achieve test, and there were 5 questions. But on this math test, there are 20 questions. So what fraction of the questions did you get correct if you got 17 and there were a total number of 20? The number you were counting, the numerator, should go on top, 17, and the total number of questions was 20. So 17/20ths would be the fraction that you got correct. Now, if this is the fraction that you got correct, write down the fraction of the problems that you got incorrect, or the number of or the fraction of problems that you got wrong. Write that fraction down. That should be 3/20ths. So if you missed 3, you got 3/20ths wrong, but you got 17/20ths correct. Okay, let's try another one. Let's look at, here's a good one. How many parts in Model 2 should be shaded to show a fraction that is equal to Model 1? Now, the first thing you notice is these unit fractions have not been labeled. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. How should I label the parts of this fraction? They should be labeled 1/4. 1/4, 1/4, and you can't see it, but 1/4 on that one. So the question is, how many parts in Model 2 should be shaded to show a fraction that is equal to Model 1? So how many pieces over here would I shade so that we would have equivalent fractions? Let's go over to our workspace and let's write down the fraction that's shaded on Model 1. And that should be 1/4. So 1/4 is equal to, first of all, we can easily find out what the denominator of this fraction is by counting the pieces. Go ahead and do that. How many pieces are in Model 2? What's the denominator? I hope you said 8. 8 is the denominator because there are 8 pieces. So how many 8ths is equal to 1/4? Go ahead and write down your numerator and let's see if you are correct while I label unit fractions. We label all of them, even the ones that we are going to shade or that have been shaded. So for these two to be equal, I hope you said that we shade 2 pieces, 2 parts, or 2/8. 1/4 is equal to 2/8. And we can look at this. We can look at the numerator and denominator of our first fraction and see that we've multiplied each number by what to get our equivalent fraction? We multiply 2 times what to get to? 1 times what, to get to? 1 times 2. And the same thing down here. 4 times 2 equals 8. So we multiply the numerator and the denominator both by 2 to get our equivalent fraction, 2/8. Okay? Make room for your next one. And your next one, this one, I have put together some Post-it notes. And I have shaded them. Hopefully they will lay down. I want you to look at each one. And I want you to think about which two show equivalent fractions. So look closely, if I can get them to lay flat. Which two show equivalent fractions? We'll call this one A, this one B, this one C, and this one D. So let's go ahead and let's write the fraction that is shaded in each one. A. What amount of A is shaded? We have total number of 4, so 4 is our denominator, 3 shaded, so 3/4, or 3 out of 4. Okay, let's look at B. How much of B is shaded? I hope you said 1/2. Let's look at C. How much is shaded on C? You know what we need to do? Unit fractions. Label them all. And on C, 1/4 is shaded. Let's go back that and do that on A and B. Notice that A and C are both partitioned into fourths. We just have a different denominator. 1 out of 4 shaded here, 3 out of 4 shaded here. Now let's look at D. What fraction of D is shaded? Our denominator is 8. I don't think I'm going to have room to put that on there. And 2 would be the numerator, 2/8. So which two have the same amount shaded? C and D. So 1/4, I'm going to move this up a little bit, 1/4 is equal to 2/8. We multiplied both the numerator and denominator by 2 to get the same thing here. And 1/4 and 2/8. And that's what we did on our circle fraction here to make an equivalent fraction. We did the same thing here. Okay, let's try another one. Which fraction below is not equal to 1/2? So I want you to think about this. 3 of these fractions are equal to 1/2. 1 is not equal to 1/2. So look closely. We have 3/6, 5/10, 3/4, and 4/8. And write down the one that you think is not equal to 1/2. Okay, I quickly drew my proof drawing to show you that 3 of these are equal to 1/2 and 1 is not. And I hope that you said 3/4 is not equal to 1/2. Remember, if the numerator is half of the denominator, it's the same as a half. 3 is half of 6, 5 is half of 10, 3 is not half of 4, but 4 is half of 8. I hope that you got that one correct. Now, let's look at this one. What whole number can also be written as the fraction 4/4? Write that down on your paper right now. The whole number that can be written as 4/4. And while you're writing that whole number, go ahead and draw. Make a proof drawing to prove that 4/4 is the same as the whole number that you wrote. Pause the video if you need to. If not, go ahead and quickly get that drawing. And I drew a circle fraction to show that 4/4 is the same as 1 whole. And I bet you put the same thing on your paper. Now for the next one. What fraction is equal to the whole number 5? What fraction? So you are going to show me a fraction that's equal to the whole number 5. Go ahead and write that down. 5 is equal to, and if we were writing that as a fraction, we just put a 1 under it and we say that as 5 wholes. And we could draw that quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we don't partition or divide the circles at all because they are wholes. 5 wholes. And for the next one, here comes one. A model 8/4 is shown. So you see everything except for the unit fractions labeled. Get those labeled right fast. And we have 8/4. So if you look at 8/4, which value is equal to 8/4? So 8/4, is it the same as 1 whole, 2 wholes, 4 wholes, or 8 wholes? Go ahead and write your answer down really fast. 8/4 is the same as 2 wholes. I bet you got that one also. Okay, now, we have 2 more. Here's the next one. Which fraction is not a whole number? Not a whole number. Think about this one before you write down your answer. Not a whole number, so it's less than a whole number. Okay, so we have 6/6, which we know is equal to 1 whole. So we're going to slash that one out because it is a whole number. We have 8 wholes, which is the same as 8 wholes, which is like the one we just did. It is a whole number. Now we have 2 8s and 12 halves. Which one is not a whole number? Well, our numerator is less than our denominator here, so we know that this fraction is less than a whole. It's not a whole. 12 halves is more than a whole. So our answer for this one is 2 8s, the only fraction here that is not a whole number. Now for the last one. What whole number can also be written as the fraction 12 halves? And that kind of goes back to this one. I didn't want to give it away on this one. 12 halves is the same as what whole number? I want you to pause the video and draw 12 halves. You can do it using circles. You can use it doing rectangles, but I want you to draw 12 halves. Go for it. Okay, I chose to do circles. I thought that was easier, but you might have drawn rectangles. We have 12 halves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 halves is the same as what whole number? Please tell me that you wrote 6 is equal to 12 halves. 12 halves is 6 wholes. If we have 12 halves, put them together and we get 6 wholes. Very good.